So the feminists are kind of the same. Because, for example, my cousin has been posting a lot of remarks that sounds very, very feminist in nature, but she cannot be feminist. She cannot be a real feminist because the core reason for the feminist to even have been born, because it is kind of a religion. Feminist is a type of religion, really, and it was made at its core around abortion, around abortion. And my cousin here was expressing herself, and she said it like this: I find natural death and the cycle of life more humane than man-made contraption. So you were expressing yourself that you cannot be really a feminist because the feminist core root for even existing, they made the feminism at its core around abortion. That's why it even is a thing. Feminists appeared because it was built around abortion. True feminists exposed. Type it in the search and you're going to find all kinds of different videos. Feminist does not equal Christian. Rachel Wilson shocks Joe Rogan, feminist biggest lie exposed. You've got Voice of Jean posting this video because Voice of Jean is saying that Jesus is a feminist. Because Jesus, the feminist versus religion, the truth about women that Christian doctrine ignores. Look how it starts. Part 1, Jesus the feminist. Feminist. What is feminist? The belief that everyone, regardless of gender, should have equal rights, opportunities, and social status. This is not the real reason why feminists even exists. It was, I'm telling you, it's like the Catholic. The Catholic, they do participate in a religion that they are not aware of the core root belief of it. The feminists presented like this is the same way as they sell the Catholic religion. You know, feminists was built around the right for the woman to have abortion. It has nothing to do with equality. This is a lie. The real feminist is not about equality.
Now, Jonathan, when this lady put up the definition of feminism on her whiteboard there, you came straight out of the gate and started telling everybody that this isn't the real definition for what feminism really is and what it really stands for. Because you say that feminism has nothing to do with the definition that she wrote down on the whiteboard. No, you say that feminism's basic core reason to exist was that, to ensure the ability for people to be able to have abortions. And that was it. For women to have abortions.
Feminist was built around the right for the woman to have abortion.
But do you want to know what I found that was rather interesting? It's the fact that you keep going off and saying that her definition of feminism that she put up there on her whiteboard, that somehow it doesn't quite explain it good enough for everybody. So basically, to fix it, you completely discard the actual definition of the word feminism, and then you tell everybody that feminism's only real mission that it deals with the abortion of babies. And the rest of it, all those actual rights that were acknowledged for women, Well, that was all just a front in order to be able to legalize the sacrifice and murder of innocent babies. So where are you getting all your information from, Jonathan? I mean, do you have anything to back up what you're saying here? Because you haven't even went as far as looking up what the definition of feminism is. Show me something. Why is that, Jonathan? Any other time you're asking Google AI machine to narrow it down for you, but not this time for some strange reason. Hmm. You know, you really maybe should have done your homework a little bit, because what you're showing everybody is being some revelation that God gave you. It's just not true. You changed the meaning of the word feminism all in order to try and mold it to your agenda.
They made the feminists, they made the feminism at its core around abortion. That's why it even is a thing. Feminists appeared because it was built around abortion.
Again, Jonathan, what's up with the total lack of effort to do even the simplest of things? Something as simple as even looking up an actual definition of the word feminism. And you couldn't even do that. Was it laziness or strategic planning?
It has nothing to do with equality. This is a lie. The real feminist is not about equality. And Voice of Jane is trying to say that Jesus is a feminist.
Okay, Jonathan, so you say that feminism was built around abortion. So I typed it into Google. Was feminism built around abortion? And it says, no, feminism was not originally built around abortion. In its earliest days, the women's rights movement was primarily centered on basic legal, political, and social inequalities such as women's suffrage, the right to vote, property rights, and education.
They made the feminists, they made the feminism at its core around abortion. That's why it even is a thing. Feminists appeared because it was built around abortion.
Historically, the relationship between feminism and abortion has shifted significantly over time. 19th and early 20th centuries. First wave feminists, including prominent leaders like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, were staunchly opposed to abortion. They viewed abortions as a tragedy forced upon women by a desperate lack of autonomy, financial resources, and societal support. To protect both women and the unborn, they frequently allied with early medical professionals to advocate against the practice. In the 1960s and 1970s, during second wave feminism, the movement broadened its scope to tackle deeper cultural inequalities, reproductive freedom, and systemic discrimination. Activists began framing abortion not just as a medical procedure, but as a fundamental gender rights issue. They argued that the ability to control one's own reproductive system was essential for women to participate equally in the workplace, politics, and society. Today, while reproductive rights are widely considered as core pillar of many feminist organizations, modern feminism encompasses a vast array of other issues. These include equal pay, combating domestic and sexual violence, maternity leave, and representation in leadership. And you can read whatever else. So, you say the original feminism was all about the ability, to have an abortion.
Feminists was built around the right for the woman to have abortion. It has nothing to do with equality. This is a lie. The real feminist is not about equality. And Voice of Jane is trying to say that Jesus is a feminist.
What's this say? The feminist case against abortion, the pro life roots of, let's see what it is. Hey, she looks evil. And she looks kind of like a he. I have no idea. Oh my. The feminist case against abortion, the pro life roots of the women's movement. Not all feminists support abortion. Properly defined, feminism is a philosophy that embraces basic rights for all human beings without exception. So, feminism, I mean, what's bad about this definition, Jonathan? It says properly defined. Feminism is a philosophy that embraces basic rights for all human beings without exception, without regard to race, religion, sex, size, age, location, disability, or parentage. Feminism rejects the use of force to dominate, control, or destroy anyone.
The core reason for the feminists to even have been born, because it is kind of a religion. Feminist is a type of religion, really, and it was made at at its core around abortion.
The organization Feminists for Life continues a 200-year-old tradition begun by Mary Wollstonecraft in England in 1792, decrying the sexual exploitation of women and a vindication of rights of women. Wollstonecraft also condemned those who would either destroy the embryo in the womb or cast it off when born, saying, "Nature in everything deserves respect, and those who violate her laws seldom violate them with impunity." Mary Wollstonecraft died from complications following the birth of her second baby girl, who was named Mary in her honor. Like her mother, the younger Mary would become a great writer, producing one of the greatest novels ever to address the dangers of violating nature, Frankenstein, by Mary Wollstonecraft, Godwin Shelley. 50 years after Mary Wollstonecraft's book was published, Lucretia Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton traveled to England to fight for the abolition of slavery. Barred from speaking at the 1842 World Anti-Slavery Convention simply because they were women, Mott and Stanton determined to hold a convention advancing the rights of women. At that time, American women could not vote or hold property. They could not control their own money, sit on a jury, or even testify on their own behalf. Women's rights to assemble, speak freely, attend college, and maintain child custody after divorce or spousal death were severely limited. Marital rape went unacknowledged. The early American feminists, facing conditions similar to those in developing countries today, were strongly opposed to abortion. Despite their own struggles, they believed in the worth of all human lives. So that goes against what you said, Jonathan. They were strongly opposed to abortion. Despite their own struggles, they believed in the worth of all human lives.
It has nothing to do with equality. This is a lie. The real feminist is not about equality. And Voice of Jane is trying to say that Jesus is a feminist.
Without known exception, the early feminists condemned abortion in no uncertain terms. Again, Jonathan, the early feminists condemned abortion in no uncertain terms. In the radical feminist newspaper, The Revolution, the founder, Susan B. Anthony, and the co editor, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, refused to publish advertisements for foticides and infanticides. Stanton, who in 1848 organized the first women's convention in Secana Falls, New York, classified abortion as a form of infanticide and referring to the murder of children either before or after birth, said, "We believe the cause of all these abuses lie in the degradation of women."
You know, feminists was built around the right for the woman to have abortion. It has nothing to do with equality. This is a lie. The real feminist is not about equality. And Voice of Jane is trying to say that Jesus is a feminist